Chapter 6. On and on, through the years, months and days, we hoped on how we were going to spend our retirement. Trips, what to do with the house, where to live, all were discussed. Where to live, easy. Paula and I wouldn't want to leave our grandchildren. So, we would stay in the Chicagoland area. We could probably sell the house and move to a smaller ranch house, with a second bedroom when the grandchildren stayed over. I had decided to retire on my 66th birthday. I had been talking about retirement for years. A running joke around work was to ask me how much longer until I retired. I would reply with something silly and absurd like 12 months, 3 days, 10 hours and 45 seconds. As retirement came closer, I would change the months and weeks. Paula had a job with a big company and was doing well. Initially, her plan was to work 1 more year, possibly save up some money for our dream vacations and then retire. But then she changed her mind. One day Paula said, "I'm retiring too. We have been talking about retirement for years. We should have more time together." You never know what the future will bring. I didn't realize the truth of that statement. Paula and I retired on my birthday in the fall of 2013, and we enjoyed the fall and the holidays with our family. The next year, many of our grandchildren were just starting school or were in preschool. Paul and I decided that we would provide transportation to school or preschool, or on some off days, just plain babysit. In the summer of 2014, we spent many days enjoying our grandchildren and taking trips. Those trips included the zoo, both the Lincoln Park and the Brookfield Zoo. On other days, we took some train rides to downtown Chicago. We enjoyed the museums, walking around Millennium Park, or taking the water taxi down the Chicago River. We were enjoying our grandchildren, and the plans for our vacations were put on hold. There would be plenty of time later, or so we thought. One of the fun things we enjoyed doing with our grandchildren was riding our bicycles, either on the sidewalks around the neighborhood or on the bike trails. When our first grandson was old enough, Paula found a bike trailer that I hooked up to my bike, and he rode in the back as we went down the bike trail. Later, we would place 2 children in the trailer, and if a third grandchild was with us, they would ride in a seat on the back of my bike or Paula's. The destination would always be an ice cream destination, a Dairy Queen, located just off the trail. The kids and Paula would enjoy some ice cream, and then we would reverse course and start back for home. But in 2015, everyone still wanted to do the bike trail, but I was worried. Paula had begun to tire easily. I hoped it was just part of getting older, and so I tried to adjust where we got on the trail, shortening our ride. One day all our grandchildren were excited about a ride down the bike trail, Paula as well. We drove to the bike trail, and I put 2 of our grandchildren in the trailer and placed the third on the seat on the back of my bike. I figured that this would be easier on Paula and not tire her out. We had only gone a few yards when Paula started having a hard time with the handlebars on her bike. She started moving them from side to side, not able to keep them straight, and then she stopped pedaling. Paula completely lost her balance, and she fell, hard. We went to the emergency room, where she was diagnosed with bruised ribs and a sprained wrist. With not being able to bike ride, and when Paula felt better, we tried to take our grandchildren for walks around the neighborhood or to the park. Paula worked hard to keep up, but she began to tire easily and started to fall behind. This wasn't the same lady that when we took walks together in the past, I had to work to keep up with her. We soon compromised. We drove our grandchildren to the park and let them play in the playground as Paula and I watched from a nearby bench. When the kids wanted to walk, I would walk with them as Paula relaxed on a bench. Later that summer, when Paula's ribs and wrist had healed and our grandchildren weren't around, Paula said she wanted to try riding again. She said she missed doing things with our grandchildren. Paula got on the bicycle and started to ride with me, running alongside of her. Something reminiscent of the many times Elle had done the same when our kids were learning to ride. Paula started off, but then she had trouble. She started moving the handlebars, trying to balance herself, and then she started to fall. I caught her before she could go down. Paula was undeterred. She wanted to try again. Paula tried again, and again she couldn't find her balance. She fell again, and again I caught her. With tears in her eyes, Paula got off the bike and walked away. Paula never rode a bike again. Later, Paula was prescribed balance classes, therapy to strengthen muscles, and cognitive testing, but nothing helped. Looking back, when Paula was diagnosed with PSP, we learned that the life expectancy for a person with PSP was 5 to 7 years. Paula's symptoms commenced in 2015, and she would work and fight against her illness for another 7 years. When Paula passed away, she became another statistic connected with this horrible illness. But that's another statistic, another number, not Paula's story. I have lists, medical records, her trips to the emergency room, her treatments, her therapy sessions, but they are all numbers and they stack up. But they don't tell Paula's story, about Paula's spirit, her soul. At first, Paula's symptoms would get worse very slowly. I had mentioned every 6 weeks. You would look back and see some small deterioration. By the end of 6 months, you would clearly see the deterioration. Later, as Paula's illness progressed, every 6 weeks you would see a dramatic difference. For the first couple of years, Paula would go to therapy and we would walk together. Paula wanted to walk a couple of times a day to get stronger, to get better. By 2018, Paula was walking with a cane, and we decided to put the house up for sale. Paula was careful going up and down the stairs, and I would help her, but a big house with bedrooms upstairs, a main floor, and steps going down to a basement was a hazard. One night, just before the house was to go on sale, Paula had carefully navigated her way down the stairs. When she started walking towards the kitchen, her foot slipped. Paula fell back against the very stairs she had carefully come down. Paula was taken to the hospital where she was diagnosed with a compression fracture of the lumbar vertebrae, her lower spine. It was a compression fracture and Paula could move around, but she needed rest and later therapy. We rented a hospital bed and put it in the living room, facing the television. With the bed and the kitchen, we essentially had a 2-room apartment. When Paula felt better and bored with the TV, we would play card games. When she was able to walk with help, we went to the kitchen table and played cards. Later, family members would come over and Paula would play board games. Our oldest grandson, now driving, would come over and play board games and card games we played with him when he was younger. In all the games, both board games and card games, Paula held her own. Over the years, Paula was given a possible diagnosis of early-onset dementia, MCI, mild cognitive impairment, possible early-stage Alzheimer's disease, and even Parkinson's disease. It would be hard for me to balance all the different diagnoses with the woman who would sit at the kitchen table and soundly beat me at gin rummy or rummy 500. The next year we put the house up for sale. During one of the showings, Paula and I drove to the park and took a walk. Paula at this time was still using a cane, but now she held my arm and needed more help. Halfway around the park, with Paula still holding my arm, she completely collapsed. She was unable to get up. Even when a good Samaritan came to help, she couldn't stand. We called the fire department, and they took her to the emergency room. They were unable to find any reason for her collapse. Paula would later leave the hospital with a walker and continued to use it. We eventually sold the house and moved into a ranch duplex in a retirement community, 55. It had a lot that we both wanted. Then were no stairs. By now, Paula was using a walker and used a wheelchair when we went out. Paula loved the park nearby, with a pathway that went around a pond in the middle of the park. When we would walk, Paula wanted me to stop and get her out of the wheelchair. Right there and then, I turned the wheelchair around so that the hand grips faced her. Paula would then push the wheelchair around the park, the same as if she was pushing her walker. But when she became tired, we would get her back sitting in the wheelchair. This became our routine every day. For the first 6 weeks in our new home, things were going well. We were happy. Then things started to change. Paula's balance seemed to completely vanish, and then she was hardly able to walk at all, even at home with her walker. Paula started moving the walker from side to side, even tipping the walker. Paula fell 3 times, and even with my help, she couldn't move forward at all. This was something new and alarming. We reached out for help to numerous doctors.